This is probably the fifth time I'm starting this recording, because my camera keeps lagging. I am so sorry if the video is chopped, but at this point, there's nothing I can do. I've tried everything, and it is what it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having an amazing day. As you can tell, guys, today we have quite a different setting. I am currently in Bulgaria. I arrived here yesterday. About my trip, we don't talk about my trip. My eyes are burning from how sleep deprived I am, because, yes, I yet again did my whole traveling from where I live to Amsterdam, to Eindhoven, to Sofia, to where I live in Bulgaria. And it's just like a lot. Um, and because of stress, I've been throwing up. I've been having nosebleeds. So, isn't that incredibly fun? And as you can tell, the setting now is different. I really hope I'm basically filming outside of my house. I wanted to film in the yard, but my dogs just by the side of me would start barking, and I don't feel like my microphone would be able to silence their barks. Also, like, there's a lot of problems with trying to connect myself to the internet when I'm outside. So hopefully this one works. Um, and I apologize in advance if the audio is a bit off. If you hear wind, if you hear birds, enjoy them. Enjoy nature the way I am trying to enjoy nature, because oh my god, have I missed it? And why is my nose leaking? Give me a second. Anyways, we have quite a chaotic um, episode in the making. I also the table is a bit too tall for me. It's a bit too high, or maybe the chair is a bit too low. And I'm just hoping that it's nice on your ears when you listen to this. Anyways, I should stop procrastinating, because this is the episode I've been procrastinating for months. The episode I've been breadcrumbing and like edging you about for I don't know how long. So, guys, welcome to the birthday episode. Tomorrow, the 27th of March, is my birthday. Originally, I wanted to create this episode the way I created last year's birthday episode, with me starting to record around 11:30 so that I can go into my birthday podcasting. I really loved doing that last year because it was very authentic, and it eased a little bit the pressure of the clock turning 12 midnight, because yeah, I was just doing the thing I love doing the most, but I'm so incredibly sleep deprived, like I mentioned. And I don't know if I'll be able, I mean, I will want to wait for my birthday, but I don't think I would be in any capacity. I don't think I would be in any position to, do you mind? The birds are birding. I don't think I would be in any position to podcast later today, because I am paralyzed with fear. I know, I know I'm smiling right now, which is kind of contradictory to what is coming out of my mouth, but I am smiling so that I don't cry. And just a heads up, there is a chance I might cry during this episode. Oh no, the wind is picking up. Okay. I feel like this wasn't the smartest decision to record outside. I guess we'll figure it out. Um, but yeah, so I might cry if you don't feel like listening to sappy, overly sensitive, and emotional stuff. Come back next week, because, babe, I've been putting this off. I've been so incredibly avoidant of my feelings to the point that they've been piling up for months. And now, like, because I've been suppressing them so much the last few weeks, I felt pure sadness, and I felt so incredibly lost. Oh wow, I'm already tearing up. Um and I just I'm really hoping that with me recording this earlier in the day, I can let go of that fear, let go of that paralysis, let go of that negativity that's surrounding my birthday and just leave it be and try to enjoy the celebration of my life. Um, but yes, I am paralyzed with fear. Every single year around my birthday, I'm really, really scared. I'm just fearful. And I feel like this year, this fear, the scariness of my birthday has been exacerbated because of what this birthday that's happening tomorrow symbolizes. So tomorrow I am turning 24 years old. And I know that if some of you are out there listening and you're like in your later, like you're older than 24, you might be thinking, wow, you're so incredibly young. Why are you so scared? Why do you feel so old? Why do you feel like you're running out of time? I don't know. I know that like if I am lucky enough to for this to be like a third of my life, that would mean I have a lot of time left to live. But obviously, this is the oldest I have ever been. Crazy concept, I know. So it is very scary. And basically, I'm scared for multiple reasons. Um, my birthday used to be something that I really enjoyed as a child. I know that's rather narcissistic and egoistical, but like egoistic. But it used to be my favorite holiday apart from Christmas. And now, if it were up to me, I would be like, if I would be in charge, I would have March skip the 27th. Like in the calendar, after the 26th of March, it would be the 28th. Because I don't know. So basically, I just feel this incredible burden of time. And yes, I know I'm only turning 24. And I know that in the grand scheme of life, this may not be necessarily old or grown up. But I also remember that when I was younger, I used to think that people who are what's about to be now my age had everything figured out and basically were such incredible grown-ups, and that I was like, you're so old and decrepit, and like, why are you even alive? Because like you're that old. And now I'm about to be 24 and I have zero clue what I'm doing with my life. I have zero clue what I want to do with my life. I have no path. I feel so incredibly lost. And it doesn't feel like I'm letting like my younger self down, but it feels like I'm just struggling to approach the person who I thought I was going to be, or at least the person I think I deserve to be. So basically, birthdays for me, as I was progressively growing up, stopped feeling magical. And I feel like this came with a lot of sadness that I experienced in my mid to late teens, and then like cured myself from parts of that sadness in my early 20s. And now I'm approaching my mid 20s. And to me, that's terrifying. And basically, birthdays now, the way I perceive them, and I know this is so incredibly sad, um, but to me, birthdays obviously are a reminder of the passage of time and how the seconds turn into minutes, the minutes turn into hours, the hours into days, the days into weeks, the weeks into months, the months into years, and the years into life. And all of this happens in a blip of time. And all of us have been granted such a small blip of existence, some blips longer than others. But I feel like I'm wasting my blip. And there's two reasons I feel like I'm wasting my blip. The first one being one I keep mentioning all the time. And it's the fact that I spend so much of my blip being invested in other people's blips because of my phone, because I keep looking at what other people are doing. I keep following their trajectories of life instead of living my own. And I keep investing so much of my little blip into something that doesn't really matter, to the point that my blip doesn't feel mine anymore. And another reason I feel like my blip is being wasted is, this is going to sound so weird, and please hear me out. I keep chasing foreignness in a foreign country, and I'm not saying so. Okay, I left Bulgaria 5 years ago. I am lucky enough to have the opportunity to come back here in Bulgaria multiple times a year and spend a few weeks at a time. But most of my year, obviously, I spend abroad, which is fine. It is what I wanted. It is what I craved ever since I was a child. I always knew I wanted to study abroad. I always knew I wanted to be abroad. Um, but it just feels, what being abroad symbolizes, the more I grow up, feels more and more scary. Because, so I've been away for 5 years. That means that all my adulthood, I have lived in the Netherlands. And yes, sure, I've spent few months here, a few months in the UK, blah 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 blah. My adulthood has been tied to the Netherlands. And this was my choice. It's a very conscious choice. But was it really? Because I left the country when I was 19. And I feel like I didn't fully comprehend what it means to be abroad and be far. And because, like, from my friends, I'm the only one who left and stayed abroad. I had friends who left and were like, you know what, this is not for me. And they came back. I have friends who studied abroad, graduated, and came back to Bulgaria. And yes, sure, I'm still studying, but like, I'm the only one who doesn't really plan on coming back immediately here after I graduate. And the thing is, the reason and this is something I'm scared to, like, I keep talking about it with like the people around me, but I feel like I'm really struggling to come to terms with it. I don't plan on coming back immediately after I graduate from university. I don't plan on immediately coming back here, because if I don't feel okay here, I would be scared to leave again. Because now, having been abroad, I know what it takes to be far away. And I'm, in a way, happy that this was a decision that younger me made and followed through, because if I had to do it for the first time now, I mean, obviously I would never know what I would be like now if I had never left, because a lot of who I am was shaped by me leaving. um but I feel like now, because I'm conscious of what it takes to be abroad, I don't think I would be able to come back here and leave again. And I'm not saying that like coming back here implies leaving, but I'm saying that like there are certain things that are not attainable here that are attainable somewhere else, and I want to be able to experience those stuff, and I don't want to live with regret. But the thing is, so when it comes to time, what really and again is signified by my birthday is the passage of time, and it's the approaching of death. And fuck, um basically, oh no, oh no, oh, that was, oh shit, did you see that? Did my camera catch that? That was like the biggest, like, it's not a wasp, but like the larger thing that I don't know the name in English of. Um anyways, the I guess the risk you take on when you decide to film outside. Um Basically, when you leave your home country for one reason or another, and you get the privilege to go back to your home country to visit family, friends, home, you become very appreciative of the things you have left behind. And you do start questioning, was it worth leaving them behind? Because, so for example, when I leave for a few months or like half a year, more than half a year, and then I come back here, it's such a strange thing that to come to terms with the fact that just because your life in your home country stopped doesn't mean that life in your home country stopped. And you come back and the people you love have started having wrinkles, gray hairs. Your dog no longer jumps when she sees you because she cannot jump anymore. Fuck. And it's just so sad because you're missing out on their life, but they're also missing out on yours. Fuck. I'm so sorry. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not sorry. It's okay. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to cry. It's okay. Um, it's just scary because like it's a reminder that life goes on even when you're not there to witness it. And basically, it really wrecks me to miss out, for example, on my grandparents getting older, my parents' first gray hairs, my dog's last jump as a hello. But it's okay because, like, I mean, it's not okay, but like, it's the price you have to pay for going abroad because this is what you wanted. And yes, sometimes it really is too high of a price, and you start wondering, is it really worth it? And should I just drop everything and come back? But like, I shouldn't determine where I go just because of FOMO. And the thing is, like, all my family and friends from here are missing out on my life there. They don't know who I am there. Yeah, like, sure, my family has, I've been lucky enough that my family has visited me, but like, they don't see me in my day-to-day life. Yes, I talk to them every single day, but like, they don't see the way I'm approaching situations. They don't see the way I've developed. They don't see my friends. They don't see my context. They don't see those stuff. And like, it does get lonely sometimes. Um, but yeah, that's just the price you pay. And I'm not saying I regret going abroad. I don't regret it for a second. If I could do it again, I would do it again. Because going abroad really transformed me as a person. Because being in the Netherlands, now I don't know if I want to stay in the Netherlands. I don't know if I made the correct choice, if there's such a thing as a correct choice. I don't know what follows, but I am happy with the fact that I left because I am happy with the person I became because of me leaving. Because of me leaving, I had to grow up, like into transition into adulthood by myself. And yes, I did have my family support. I did have my friends support. I would call them every day and we would talk about stuff, but like ultimately you're alone. And that has been very challenging at times, but it's extremely rewarding. And especially, okay, let's now discuss this in the context of my birthday. Um Basically, I don't know how I feel about me having been 23. I genuinely struggled so much with feeling connected to that age, feeling connected to the concept of me being a 23-year-old. And at times, I really want to not put that much emphasis into what those things mean, to not put that much value into that number. But I do, because I'm an inherently extremely sentimental person. Being 23 was really confusing for me. I did, now when I'm reflecting on it and I'm trying to summarize it, to be reflective of it over here in like a span of an hour, I can find growth that I did, but I feel like it wasn't as much as I could have done. And I hate that I see it like this. I hate that instead of being appreciative of the growth I did, I see it as like, oh, but you didn't do that much growth. Because my problem is that I compare myself constantly. I compare myself to the people I see online. I compare myself to my friends. I compare myself to acquaintances. And I compare myself to my my younger me, and who I want to be in the future. And obviously, in this web of comparison, I just get like tied into it and feel like I'm never sufficient, never enough, never doing good enough, never being smart enough, never being pretty enough, never being motivated enough, never being productive enough, never just being enough. And this is just something that really I struggle a lot with. And I keep reminding myself that, okay, why am I comparing myself to a younger version of me that was defined by her sadness? Why am I comparing myself to someone who was so avoidant of her feelings and would never feel them, but would hyper analyze them and would think that this hyper analysis would equate feeling? That's why would I compare myself to someone who was not happy with who she was, but she was having fun by doing certain stuff? For example, I would go to concerts. I would travel a bit more. Like, I've been to like 2 places, but still, I would be going out constantly with my friends back here, and like I would live a more dynamic life. But ultimately, I wouldn't say I was unhappy, but I wouldn't say I was happy with who I was. But I had fun some moments. And so, why am I comparing myself to that? But then also comparing myself to a future me, which obviously I am not yet. I don't know if I ever will be. But it's just like, so basically, I rip myself apart and position myself between this yesterday and the future and the tomorrow. And I never live in the moment. And this is something that really pains me a lot. And I'm struggling a lot to be present. And this is something I've been trying to put more emphasis on. Um, but also, why do I compare myself to other people when the paths that we're walking, yes, sure, sometimes they may overlap, but in general, they're very different roads we take? Because I have people my age or like a year younger, a year or two older, who, for example, dropped out of university or never started university, started working immediately after high school, didn't graduate high school. I have friends around me who have been in long-term relationships and are thinking that this is their partner for life and want to start a family. I have friends who lost their long-term relationships. I have friends who've never been in a relationship. I have friends who want to have children. I have friends who don't want to have children. I have friends who are employed, friends who are unemployed, friends who are barely making ends meet, and friends who are well financially secure. I have friends who just now are starting university, friends who are graduating from university, friends who never went to university. I have friends who uh just got their own apartment, and I have friends who just moved back in with their parents. And basically, I don't think that any of them are failures. I don't think any of them have made any grand mistakes that are life defining and that they should be oppressed and suppressed because of like not meeting a goal that they set to meet by 24 or 25 or whatever. And I feel like this should be a reminder to me that every path is valid and not every path. Actually, I don't think any path is linear. And the way I show grace to my friends who are struggling to obtain their goals, or my friends whose goals don't align with mine, for example, I should show myself grace for not getting where I want to be in life yet. Because the thing is, I don't even know where I want to be in life. I don't know who I want to be in terms of a career, because like how do I choose something to devote so much of my blip to? I don't know where I want to be in terms of countries, in terms of cities. And it's just so confusing. And that is the biggest reason I am terrified of 24. Because to me, 24 symbolizes this. I just know that it's going to be a very transitional year. So it symbolizes this transition because basically, with me turning 24, that means that I am closer to graduating from university. And I went to the Netherlands for university. So if I've graduated there, like, do I stay there? Do I come back here? Do I go to another country? What do I do? And the thing is, my entire conscious life, have been a student. You basically, from the when you're born until you graduate, if like things go according to like expectations in terms of like education and stuff, things are pretty set for you in terms of, oh, you go to kindergarten, after kindergarten you go to school, after primary and like elementary or whatever. I don't know what the name school of the schools are in English, because like in my hometown we just have school. So after that you go to high school, after high school you go to university, after your bachelor you do a master's, and now I don't want to do a PhD. I My ego would really skyrocket if there was the abbreviation DR in front of my name, but I feel like this is not a price I'm willing to pay, because that's a lot of studying, that's a lot of learning, and I don't have it in me anymore. And that's the interesting thing. I don't have it in me to study anymore, but being a student is all I've ever known. And I am a bit terrified who I am outside of those structures, because those structures have been a path that's been leading me throughout the past, what, 15 years? No, more, 24. I started school when I was 17 years. And 17 years, I have had more clarity, or a clarity about what follows after 7. Well, after the first grade follows the second, third, fourth, blah, 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 blah. And after the bachelor, because I was so terrified of the concept of getting on with life because I was not ready, I immediately started with the master's. And because I was not eligible to enter the master's immediately because it was a master's of business and economics and my bachelor is in the faculty of arts, so I was not eligible. I had to do a pre-master. So that gave me 2 years. I'm showing for 2 years to figure out what is it that I want to do, who is it that I want to be. And those 2 years are coming to an end, and there is no postponing anymore. And I don't mean it to say that like I've not lived real life up until now, but basically like, because like I have been working, I have been self-sufficient, and like I have been the one to take care of like bills for years now. So I have a concept of what it means to be in the real world. um but I'm scared because like this big part of who I am, I'm no longer going to be. And this is something I look forward to, in terms of I'm excited to have my evenings to myself, to have weekends, to not have to worry about exams and like group work and people plagiarizing and me getting in trouble because of that. I'm excited about that. But also, I dread it because this is all I have ever known. And now it's all up in the air and it's up to me about what I make of it. And that is very scary. That is very, very scary. And to me, it feels so extremely unknown. And this lack of knowledge, instead of perceiving as freedom to be who I want to be whoever it is, I just perceive it as chaos, as lack of path. And this is scaring me. I hate when I remember 10 minutes after I stop recording what is it that I wanted to say and I ended up not saying it. And normally I'm just like, oh, whatever. But now this is something I want to point out. So this is me literally sitting next to my bed so that I don't set up the whole thing again, because my setup took me forever to do and I just disassembled it. So that's why we're here now. Basically, another reason I'm so incredibly terrified of aging is because as women, we have social existence that is quite limited and it is very tied to our age. And basically, the second a woman turns 30, she becomes socially annihilated. And me approaching 30, like for example, in tomorrow I will be just as close to 18 as I will be to 30. And I'm not saying that 30 is old, but society teaches you that when a woman turns 30, that is old. And I'm just terrified of this narrative that's been perpetuated constantly. And basically, but why? Because, like, for example, in the Sex and the City, they're in their 30s, late 30s or whatever. In Friends, they're in their mid to late 20s to their early to middle 30s. So, like, there is still so much life to live. But because society has told us that women's worth is tied to their age, and as they age, their worth decreases, I feel like that's why I keep looking at my laptop when I should be looking over here. I'm sorry, guys. I've not been looking at you. I've been looking at myself, and that's on narcissism. Um, but yeah, it's just like it's so difficult to please everyone and everything, and myself included. And basically, I was talking to a friend who's my age, and her birthday is a month after mine. And she told me, yeah, realistically, I need to start thinking if within the 5 years I want children or not, because after that, like, biologically, although like now the trend is for women to give birth later, it's like, so now we also have like a biological clock to think about. And it's just like, can we catch a break? Can we catch a break, because like it's so incredibly exhausting to um think that you have 6 good years left in you, and then like in those years you need to make a choice of whether, like a life defining choice of whether you want to become a parent or not, or whether you're able to become a parent or not. And it's so difficult because, like, for example, now I am the age, so I'll be 24. I'll be the age my mom was when she married my dad. And like, I am nowhere near marriage. I am nowhere near being like in a long-term relationship, and that is just terrifying. I don't mean like it's terrifying that I'm not like about to be married soon. Like, this is not what's terrifying me. It's just like times have changed, and like social pressures have sustained themselves because they've been nurtured throughout decades or like centuries, and it's so exhausting. It's exhausting to think that your life your lifespan is not determined by your death, but it's determined by what society tells you your viable years are. And that's why I think I have such a problem turning 24 and like growing older, because also like in representation of media, there is underrepresentation of older women, and also like women have such high standards when it comes to aging and how they should age, and they should age gracefully, and they should age beautifully, and they should age without wrinkles. And like, I'm 24 and I have a wrinkle, and like i I was hyper fixated on it when I found it out, but it's like, it's normal. I'm human. That's skin. It's okay. It's okay for my skin to act like a skin. It's okay for my body to be functional. And I shouldn't be put down for my functioning body. And it's just, it's scary. It's really, really scary. And I, yeah, because like, for example, when you look at the media, like just the represent, and like, because of these beauty standards, women who are presented in the media don't feel like they're entitled to aging naturally, but they feel like they have to put on so like go undergo so many cosmetic alterations and like surgeries so that they can fit this beauty standards, because like the beauty standard is set by youth, by men obsessed with youth, with young women, with children. And it's just, I'm not saying that I want to be validated by men and that like I want to fit this beauty standard, but like, as a woman, I have been taught to crave that attention, to crave that validation, to want to fit that mold. And it's that is why aging is also portrayed as something we should fear, because when it comes to women, aging is equated with social annihilation. And like, I don't know, I just hope my 20s are not as good as it gets, because like, if this is as good as it gets, what's the point of continuing? I just really don't like this narrative of your 20s being your best years, and like you looking your best, you're being your healthiest and like your fittest and whatever. Yeah, but like, I don't have the opportunity to enjoy it because like I need to slave to the capitalist system so that I can make ends meet. And it's just like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And yeah, yeah, I don't know. Frontal lobe do be developing, and don't get me started on my frontal lobe developing. Like, if I become any more aware than I am now, I will need to be sent into an asylum, because like, it doesn't get more aware. Well, anyways, back to like the original recording. What was that? What was that? Literally, why did I end it like this? Sometimes I feel like I am my biggest enemy. Doesn't matter. This transition of me no longer being a student, no longer procrastinating entering adulthood, no longer, I don't know, being everything I've ever known. And that doesn't mean that, like, with the closure of this chapter, I will no longer be myself, but it's just I miss I will be missing the path dependency, which like just the very fact that I use the word dependency implies that this is not something I was fully in control of. So I don't know. I feel very, very scared and I don't know what to do. And I just hope that in the process, I show myself grace. I hope, because the thing is, I have a lot of expectations when it comes to myself and my personal and professional development, because this is going to sound cocky, but I know what I'm capable of. I know that I'm an okay person and I know I can achieve the things I set myself to achieve, because I have been doing it up until now, so why stop now? But like having those big expectations is what's the scary part. And those big expectations are the things that are making me less forgiving of failure and perceiving failure as rejection rather than redirection. And yeah, I don't know, like just I'm terrified. I really, really am terrified. And basically, I am nowhere where I expect it to be by now, because by now I expect it to be basically a very solid, financially stable, mentally healthy person. And like, look how that turned out for me. Like yesterday, when I was traveling, basically, despite me calling them on the phone and them confirming that it's going to work, my student travel product ended up not working. And that means that I was not able to travel for free. And that means that I had to pay 70 euros to travel by train in the Netherlands, which meant that I cried incredibly. And then my service provider withdrew another 40 euros because, mind you, my subscription is EU wide and all my minutes and all my data is valid in the EU, and all that's fine. But they don't tell you that if you make a call to an EU number that is a non Dutch number, they're going to charge you non EU roaming rates. So that was very fun. So yeah, basically yesterday I cried because I spent 110 euros, and what did I get in return? What did I get? I mean, oh my god, like, so yeah, I cried for that, and I'm just hoping that like I reach some sort of financial stability in the upcoming year, because I've been really stressed about this. Like, money is something that really worries me. I feel like a lot of us are worried about money, especially in such politically crazy times, and like everything is getting more expensive, and it's just like, yeah, like I've not been able to save for months and whatever. Like we can talk about money another time. Now let's go back to existential dread. You know what? This morning when I woke up, I wrote myself a letter. Every single year, I write myself a letter on my birthday, on Christmas, and on New Year's. And then I went to read the letter I wrote myself last year for my current me. And the parallels are crazy. Because last year, I was apparently also just terrified because of my birthday. And I just wonder, is this fear going to be ever present? Because I feel like for us people, we're obviously we're fleeting in nature. We're very passing creatures. We're here, like I mentioned earlier, just for a blip of time. And this reminder, because death is the only thing that you're guaranteed when you're born. You're not guaranteed health. You're not guaranteed happiness. You're not guaranteed love. You're not guaranteed financial stability. You're not guaranteed a home. You're not guaranteed food, shelter. You're not guaranteed anything but the fact that your life is going to end. And I feel like we as people really struggle to comprehend death, mainly because and like this is not to like undermine any religion or science, but like we really struggle to grasp what comes after death. And I feel like that's why we have developed concepts such as religion, such as heaven, such as hell, because they give us the consolation of what happens when we die. And you know what's really interesting? That like when I was really sad, I used to long for death. And now I fear it. Now I respect it. And that is a good thing because that means that now I'm appreciative of my life and I don't want to lose it. And I want to be able to live it to the fullest and live it long. But like now, because I don't know, there's just like constant reminders of death. And it's really, you know, what's like one of the biggest contributors of me feeling weird about my birthday? Because birthdays are obviously a celebration of life. It feels so extremely hypocritical to be celebrating life when there's people that are dying because they were born with like a skin darker than mine and a religion different from mine and in a body different from mine with a sexuality different from mine in a place different from the one I was born in. And it feels so incredibly hypocritical to be celebratory in these times when like people are being massacred just for being born. And I keep trying to remind myself that I'm so incredibly privileged. I'm incredibly privileged to have a roof over my head, to have food on the table, to have drinking water, to have a job, to have access to education, to have a happy, healthy family, to have an overall healthy way of life, and to not have an imminent threat to my existence. And these are such incredible privileges. And isn't it so incredibly sad that this is considered a privilege? Shouldn't it be a given that like people are entitled to life? And it just feels so weird to celebrate me turning 24 when there's like tens of thousands of people who don't get to live to 24. And I keep trying to not blame myself for my privileges, but I really struggle to do that. And I keep trying to not blame myself for my privileges, but use my privileges to privilege others. And this is actually what I'm doing for my birthday. I really debated whether I should share it on here or not, but I feel like why not? This is just my audiovisual diary, might as well. I really struggle with receiving gifts. I hate receiving gifts. I feel like such a burden. I hate the fact that someone has spent money on me, which I know like we can talk about it another time, which is very hypocritical because I love giving gifts. I love making people gifts. I love making surprises. So it is like, why can you not see that like someone would also want to do that for yourself, for you? So this year, I basically, for my birthday, this is actually the first year I will be having friends over for my birthday. Well, the day after my birthday, in I want to say 4 or 5 years. And I feel like this is a big contributor to why I stopped seeing my birthday as like this celebration because I was no longer celebrating it.
I don't know why I wasn't well, I mean, like, no one lives in our hometown anymore, so like people will be traveling to see me for my birthday, which is something I'm extremely happy about. And like now my birthday I can celebrate it like in the weekend, so that's nice. But yeah, so for my birthday this year, instead of getting gifts from my friends, I told them that all the money that they were going to spend on gifts would be of better use donated. And I selected three foundations, two in support of homeless animals in Bulgaria, because there is a lot of homeless animals in Bulgaria, and one that supports retired people who basically pension here is like ridiculously making fun of the retired people type of law, and those people struggle to make ends meet. And this year I found this foundation that supports retired people, and now because like Easter is coming up, they are um like gathering donations to be able to make food packages for those retired people so that they can have an Easter meal. And I just feel like this is such like a better way to spend their my friends to spend their money on, instead of buying me something, because like I'm lucky enough to be in a position where if I need something, I mean, in terms of like the bare necessities, I can afford them. And I feel like this, like birthdays should be about giving back and giving love to the people who make you feel loved all throughout the year, and being reflective of, there's like a lot of wind. I feel like I should move. I'm really sorry if you feel the wind, if you hear the wind. Um Basically, yeah. I feel like this is what's really going to make me feel better about my birthday, which I know sounds like, oh, then like you're being like, you're donating not because you want to, but because you feel better, which is like, I don't know, that's another conversation in itself. But basically, I just don't like being the center of attention. And when attention that was going to be devoted to me is devoted to a cause that is much larger than me, I feel better. Because I just really don't like being the center of attention, which is crazy because I literally created an entire space to dedicate to my life and my stories because I feel like my stories are shareable. So that's on hypocrisy. So 23. What can I say as a closure to my 23rd year in life? It wasn't a hyper eventful year. I feel like I didn't do too much, but I want to close it off not by reflecting on what I didn't do, but what I did. Because I was thinking about it recently of what is it that I did in 23 apart from 23 apart from survive, which sometimes is more than enough. And sometimes that's the only thing you can do. But there are a few things that I want to mention, which I want to reflect on as achievements that I did in my 20-30 year of life so that I don't feel like a failure. Basically, well, I became financially stable, well, not stable, financially independent a few years ago. I was managed to um, maintain that. I am extremely proud of developing Dirty Martini into an audiovisual form. This is perhaps one of the biggest achievements of my 20-30 year, of like sticking with that passion, developing that passion. Another thing which I'm perhaps it's one of the proudest moments of my life was this year. I lost a friendship, and basically that friendship ended quite abruptly from my perspective and without knowing why. And if you're interested, I can dive deeper into friendship breakups and whatnot in another episode. But now, here, I'll just briefly talk about it. I'm someone who perceives herself as a very big burden, or at least used to. And I always am hyper apologetic about everything and anything. And I always feel like I'm the one to blame for a relationship ending, someone feeling sad in my presence, or whatever. And earlier this year, no, it was late last year. I don't know, somewhere around, whatever. I had a friendship end. And this was a very crucial friendship for me in the past 2 years because it was a relatively new friend. Well, it's a friendship that I created 2 years ago. And that friendship just went cold. And without a reason being given to me, the person decided to distance themselves from me. And I'm really proud of the way I approached that situation because the second I sensed that something is off, I went up to the person and I was like, hey, can we talk? I feel like there is a distance between us. I would like to know what happened. If I did something to hurt you, I would like to take accountability and I would like to rectify my behavior if I've done something because I don't want to lose you. And I'm really proud of myself for being that upfront, that honest, and that vulnerable. The person ended up telling me that everything is fine. I ended up bringing it a week later again because I could tell that things are not fine. And then just we stopped talking. And normally I would blame myself for it. And I would keep myself up at night to be like, what is it that I did? What is wrong with me that I drive people away? But then I realized sometimes people leave without having an explicit reason, without me having had done anything, without, yeah, they just leave. And I am at peace with that. I am at peace with this friendship ending. I am at peace knowing that I did try multiple times to rectify that relationship, to resurrect that relationship. And I am proud of myself for not coming to a point where I blame myself or perceive myself as the victim, perceive myself as the villain. It's just something that happened. And if this had happened to younger me, she would definitely be losing sleep over this. Now, the only reason I think about it every now and then is because to me, this was such a symbol of how much I've matured. Because what can you do if you ask someone to talk about your relationship and they don't want to talk about it with you? What is the point of me dwelling on it and dreading the past, basically? Another thing, relationship, friendships wise, is this year I really prioritized surrounding myself solely with people that I appreciate, that appreciate me, that I love, that love me. And that was something I had to be reminded of 2 weeks ago when, like, one of those people came back into my life and I was like, there's a reason I I just don't see our friendship progressing because, like, there is complete misalignment with our morale. Well, not morality, our approach to life, and the way we treat friendships. Because I just came to terms with the fact that I don't want to be disrespected just for the sake to be someone's friend. And this to me signifies a lot of growth, because when I was younger, I would put up with whatever simply because I would want to continue my friendship with someone, because like those are things that you have to suck up, and like you don't have to suck up disrespect. You don't have to brush off uh insults. You don't have to brush off offense and offensive behavior just for the sake of a relationship continuing. It is okay for you to walk out of relationships, for you to walk out of friendships, if that friendship is no longer in alignment with who you are or who you want to be. Because I have made friendships with certain people without really being aligned with them. I don't know what brought us together. I mean, I know, but I don't want to say it out loud because whatever. And I feel like I would rather be alone than be surrounded by people who would disrespect their friends in front of me. Because what are you saying about me when I leave the room, you know? And I'm not playing holier than thou. It's just like we are grown up enough to know, to know, to know. Another thing that I really am proud of myself for achieving this year is coming to terms with something that is a big part of my life without really wanting to go much in depth here. Um, there's like something in my life that I'm not really in control of, or like that I perceive as defining me, when in reality is so minuscule. And because it's so minuscule, but like I care about it a lot, I used to give it the power to define me. And this year I took back my power and I diminished this thing to the thing it is. And I deprived it of the power to be who I am. It may be part of who I am, but it is not who I am in my entirety. And perhaps the biggest thing I achieved this year is self acceptance and self appreciation and self care, in terms of I've been prioritizing rest. Like I try to have at least one day a year or week in which I have like an afternoon to myself without studying, without working, just doing something nice. And then self acceptance in terms of the way I look, because I I still very much look in the mirror, like look my stomach in the mirror. The first thing I do when I open my eyes, which is not healthy, which is something I want to stop doing. But now when I look in the mirror, I no longer see just a body to judge. I see a strong, beautiful, intelligent, and capable woman whose presence I appreciate, whose friendship I love having, and who is the epicenter of my world rather than a secondary character that's left nameless in the background. And I feel like this is my biggest achievement of that year. Me being okay with who I am, me seeing the beauty in myself, because I've okay, I've never doubted my intelligence per se. I mean, like, there are times when I'm like, oh, you're stupid or whatever. But like, I've always known I am book smart, but also I've been progressively becoming street smart. Because this is just like, yeah, I just didn't grow up the prettiest. So I had my brain to rely on in order to, bring something to the table. And that was a very, like, in a world that puts a lot of priority and like emphasis on beauty, it felt like I was lacking. And I don't think I look much different now than I do last year, but I just started seeing the beauty in myself. And when I look in the mirror, I no longer dread looking in the mirror. There was a time when I didn't have a mirror for a year and a half. And now I am okay with having a mirror and looking into it because I like who I see when I look in the mirror. And that is not an easy path. That is not a linear path. I'm not saying that this is going to be forever. I'm not saying that I don't have days when I'm like, oh, you look hideous or you're so incredibly dumb or whatever. But looking at the bigger picture, I've become way more appreciative of who I am and what I do. And I think just like my strength, my passions, my determination, my motivation, my consistency spilled over into, because those are things I respect, they spilled over into the way I look at myself purely physically. So now I really think I am pretty. And I feel like this is one of the biggest protests you can do as a woman, as a young woman who lives in a society where women are oppressed and minimized solely to what they look like. I feel like in a society that's constantly trying to bring you down, the biggest form of protest you can do as an individual against those beauty standards, those beauty norms, is to love yourself and like who you see in the mirror and be acceptive of the things you see in the mirror and the person you are. I don't know. This episode like ended up being like just this chaos and like I don't know. Like it wasn't as basically I didn't cover most of the things I wanted to cover about my birthday, but that's okay because I do feel lighter now having talked about the stuff I talked about. Because that's the thing though, like it may not have followed the structure which I wanted it to follow, but it was like a lot of grabbing topics out of here and there and like mixing them all together because this is what life is. Life is just not one topic at a time. Days are not just like one plot at a time. There are many plot lines intertwining and like and developing into the web of what your life, what your blip is. And I feel like this is probably the beauty of this episode, and this is the beauty of Dirty Martini, and this is the beauty of life, that it's so not monochrome and that it's colorful, with colors that are so depressing to colors that signify happiness, and with everything in between. And like I'm so incredibly grateful that I have been endowed with this emotional palette and emotional capacity to feel and experience life so deeply. And yes, being so highly sentimental sometimes means feeling a lot of pain, but that also means feeling the good stuff, feeling the bad stuff, just feeling your existence, feeling your life rather than just being in it. And to me, that is such a rich way of living life, even though sometimes it leads to overthinking, even though it may lead to depression, even though it may lead to uh, just spiraling all the time. I feel like I'm willing to pay that price in order to be able to feel as deeply as I do. And I feel so privileged to have that, because having such an opportunity to feel that deeply, think about like Maslow's pyramid. That means that I'm privileged enough for my basic survival needs to have been met in order to be able to dwell about whether I'm a good person or not, whether I'm where I want to be or not, because that means my purely survival needs have been met. And what a privilege. what a privilege. And it's so incredibly sad that, like, this is not everyone's given, that not everyone has a home and food and water and shelter. And I'm like, again, veering off. It's just, I feel very lucky. I feel extremely privileged. I feel extremely blessed. And while I dread turning older, I'm reflective of the fact that it is a privilege to turn older. And I hope I don't blame myself for that privilege, but enjoy it, because blaming myself for my privileges is not going to do anything. And I hope 24 is kind to me. I hope with all those decisions, with all those transformations and changes that are coming my way, I show myself grace, I show myself patience, I show myself kindness, and I hope that I am able to overcome my fears. But even if I'm not able to overcome my fears, I still hope I do life, even if scared. I hope my fear is not a stopping point. I hope my fear is not a defining attribute to who I am. And I hope 24 brings me clarity. I hope 24 brings me peace, harmony. I hope 24 allows me to accept help, allows me to ask for help and not see myself as a burden if I need help. I hope 24 brings with itself a lot of growth, a lot of self love, and a lot of opportunities to be happy and enjoy life. And I hope 24 brings with itself more and more of Dirty Martini. And I'm so incredibly grateful to have this space to reflect on my life every single week, week in, week out, and to have a safe space, to have my minuscule blip of the internet. And I'm so thankful to each and every one of you who listens, who comments, who likes, who dislikes, who follows, who doesn't follow, who shares, who doesn't share, who. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, to 23-year-old me, it's been something. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. Thank you for showing up even when this is not what you wanted to do. Thank you for being consistent, for being persistent, for being disciplined. Thank you for learning kindness to yourself, to others. Thank you for practicing or trying to practice patience, trying to practice understanding. Thank you for not putting yourself in a victim position and taking accountability for your mistakes, learning from them, and thank you for accepting me. Thank you for no longer seeing me as someone you have to put up with, but as someone you enjoy spending time with, as someone you enjoy being, because you and me, baby, we're endgame. Whether you like it or not, I'm the only person that's going to be in your life until it ends. And I'm so grateful that you're going on a path towards self acceptance, self love, and nourishment. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye.